Welcome to the Geek and I podcast. We are part of the Geek News Now podcast network. Visit them online at geeknewsnow.net for all your geeky news and everything you need to know about upcoming TV, movies, and comics. We are sponsored by Sumner Twins Talent. Visit them online at facebook.com/Sumner Twins. And you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Geek and I podcast. So let's bring him in one more time, my cohort in crime here on the airwaves, with his really terrible towel, Mr. Jeff Dickinson.
Hey, John, how you doing, brother?
Good, sir. How are you?
Doing most excellent. Very thankful.
Yes, I see you have your terrible towel there. Why is that towel terrible?
Well, if you follow the tradition, there's a certain guy here that was dedicated to. I'm not going to spoil it for all you guys who are non-Steeler fans, but hey, we're doing pretty good. We got a game coming up here that's very important. And what better way to celebrate things thankful than being thankful for your team doing awesome?
Well, we are also thankful for our guest today on the show. Would you like to do the introduction?
Oh man, we're amongst horror royalty once again. This woman is such an amazing talent. I'm very pleased to welcome to the show Miss Betsy Baker.
Good afternoon, Miss Baker. How are you?
I'm well, and also a Steelers fan. We have a number of terrible towels here too. My husband is a huge Steelers fan. Go Steelers on Thanksgiving Day. So I understand your excitement, Jeff.
How are you doing? How are you doing, Miss Baker? How are things where you are?
Thank you. I'm actually doing really well. It's a strange and interesting time this year. We're all going to get through it the best we can and should. And our forefathers, and I don't mean to talk about this just on Thanksgiving, but our forefathers and our ancestors and our grandparents and great-grandparents had trials and tribulations of their own. And so this too shall pass. But other than that, I'm doing fine. My family is healthy, knock on wood. I'm in Southern California, kind of gray and gray, which I absolutely love. So all is well. I can't complain. I often do, but I shouldn't and can't.
So we know you possibly best from the movie that I would say started, I guess, the modern horror genre, the way things are filmed and shot and the effects and stuff. From the early 80s, The Evil Dead. I wanted to ask you, how did you get involved? Were you part of the gang that everybody hung out together, or were you called in by Sam Raimi and the guys? How did you get involved in that?
I know that some people seem to think there's a lot of connection with us living in Southeast Michigan and some of us going to Michigan State University where the Spartans are, Big Ten. But we went to school at different times and we did not know each other while Rob and Sam and I attended Michigan State University because we attended at different times. But in the meantime, I had graduated and moved down to Florida to do some professional singing and things like that. Moved to Detroit, from which I'm not from Detroit. I moved to experience the other side of the state of Michigan and try and get into acting. And I had an agent and he called me one day and said, we're not providing any sort of meeting or audition for you, but there's three young men. She didn't even call them gentlemen, which they were, but she said there's three young men that are wanting to do a horror movie, and they have contacted me. They would like to meet with you. And I said, okay. She goes, yeah, it's a little ambiguous, but they want to meet with you. And so to make you feel comfortable, they're happy to meet with you in a public restaurant. Okay. So we all had this public restaurant, which sadly I think has closed recently, called Pasquale's. For those of you in the Detroit area, it was on Woodward Ave. And it was just a good old-fashioned Italian restaurant. And I went at about 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and they were back in a corner waiting for me. And they were like young kids. They were, I mean, I don't know if Sam was, I guess he was 20, but they were young kids. They were literally drinking Pepsi Colas with straws and blowing the wrappers off the straws, waiting for me. I mean, this is what I was dealing with. So I felt fairly safe, you know, just Larry, Moe, and Curly, to which they all really love. So I felt pretty safe. We had a meeting. We talked. They were interested in perhaps doing a horror movie. And then they followed up with, well, would you like to meet with us to read a few scenes? So we met in Sam's parents' basement, because that's where actually Sam was living at the time. And we went in through the back door, this, you know, beautiful home, and down the basement step, and did a few scenes. And then they asked me if I would like to be a part of it. So I took on the job because I thought it would be a great experience. I had never really worked on a film, even in college, though I got my education with a minor in classical voice. We also decided to do the job in Tennessee because they had suspected that the weather would get very cold in Michigan. So I said, well, I've never really been to Tennessee except to drive through it. So yeah, that sounds fun. So that's literally how we got involved. So
yeah. You just met in a restaurant and you said, let's go make a movie in the woods. So let me ask you, I was reading somewhere that now
that sounds familiar.
I don't know. Is it true that you guys got lost on your first day of filming?
Oh yeah, there were a bunch of us. We drove down actually in a large van with a lot of equipment and some of the talent, and we got lost. Yeah, we're trying to get to Morristown, Tennessee. On the first day of shooting, we got lost, which is only like 2-minute shot on, literally. So yeah, we didn't have GPS, we didn't have computers, we didn't have cell phones. So yeah, we got lost.
I was watching the movie the other night, and I have an issue putting in my contact lenses. Those lenses that they were wearing they looked like shot glasses. Were they hard to get in, and did they leave any? Did you have eye problems afterward?
They are called plastic scleral lens. Well, they're hard, so they sound just like this. Yeah. So little phone is on a little platform now, and it sounded just like that. And they're hard and plastic. They look like a small coffee cup.
Really?
And we had to be trained how to be an ophthalmologist or not an obstetrician, an ophthalmologist. I don't know, maybe, could have been. And he actually came down to Tennessee to make sure we were wearing them right. And the rule was they could not be in for more than 10 minutes because it was blocking all the air and oxygen to our eyeballs. And of course, Sam took advantage of that all the time. And so your eyes got very dry, which then proceeded to pose a problem of get out because they were sticking to our eyeballs. So yeah, I did not have a problem, but I know both Teresa, Sarah York, aka Teresa Tilley, and Ellen Sandweiss had a lot of problems with them.
So do you still talk with some of the cast members?
Oh gosh, yes. I talk to Sarah York all the time, sometimes 3 or 4 times a week. We are in negotiations for something special right now. All 5 of the actors. I can't really say, but I will at some point. We will be announcing it very, very soon. And but yes, Teresa and I are very, very dear friends. I talk to Rich every once in a while. Once in a blue moon, we talk to Bruce, and we text a lot. Ellen, the ladies of the Evil Dead used to see each other a lot more until the pandemic because we were going to conventions 3 or 4 times a year. So we would spend, a week with each other or a long weekend. And sometimes actually when we would go over to conventions in Europe, we would actually tag on a little trip. And sometimes Ellen and I would go in a day or so early. So it's a real special, unique relationship that not every working business, whether it's the entertainment industry or whatever, has that connection. It's a unique relationship that we continue to have for many reasons. One of them, honestly, is being because of the continuing cult presence of the movie. We can't avoid being in contact with each other, but it's a good thing because we get together and all laugh and enjoy each other when we see each other. So that's really kind of nice.
So how has that changed? How has 2020 changed, your life as far as, do you feel a difference in virtual conventions compared to being there in person with the fans? Is there an emotional disconnect kind of when you're doing it like a virtual convention?
We've been to a number of conventions the last 19, 20 years. I mean, 3, 4, 5 a year. And we've enjoyed every single one of them. Maybe not for the venue, maybe not for the location, maybe not for the change in schedules with each of our 20 years ago. None of the 3 actresses, I can speak for them because we speak for each other all the time with Ladies of the Evil Dead. We had no idea this a cult following. Absolutely no idea. I mean, we were busy either acting or working in our own businesses, raising a family, whatever, and we had no idea. So to go and meet the fans and say thank you to them over and over again in different cities and in different venues has really been a lot of fun. So we really, really miss that.
Now, when you go to over the years, you've done hundreds, I would assume, conventions. Is there one particular story from a convention, from your experiences, that always sticks out in your mind, that wow, that's I can't believe that happened type of moment?
There's a lot of people that come up to our tables or what, all about getting an autograph or a signature. We actually engage in conversation and what we're doing now and how we got the movie, just much like the questions that you're curious about. And there are so many people that say toward my character, oh my gosh, Betsy, I cannot believe how scared I heard the laugh. To this day, I cannot hear the laugh. I just cringe, or I just double over in agony. I just can't hear it. It just gives me nightmare. And as soon as they leave the table and walk away after we've said our goodbyes, I'll invariably it's pretty funny, and we all have a good joke about it, because they'll turn around and go, no, don't. But, it's sort of on. So I always do the line for anybody asks.
Right. Now, I've been, since we had you booked, I've been going through the internet and looking at some photographs that come up when somebody Googles somebody. And one of them happened to come up from a convention. Can you tell me if you remember this moment and what this was like when I show it to you? Ready?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Okay. That, I think one woman, her name escapes me right now. I think it starts with, yeah. And she said, there are lots of people that say, I have something to show you. And you go, oh, gosh, what is, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a broken actress. All of a sudden, she said, well, I'm going to have to, lift up my pants leg. And I went, okay, whatever. And there I am, right on her ankle, or right on her calf. It's tattoos that we've seen, which John and Jeff remind me of a story. There was a young man who came to a Burbank, California convention, and he was just really a lovely young man. He was with his girlfriend, and said, lay up his cargo shorts, and at the very top of his thigh, and I mean the very top of his thigh, in a huge tattoo, were the 3 of us ladies, Ladies of the Evil Dead in tattoo. And we said, wow, that's something. And
now,
you
Jeff,
sign your names underneath all of your. So that was awkward, but of course we applied. So next day, we were invited to screening, and he was there. And he said, "Ladies, I have something to show you." And I said, "We also remember you've already shown and gotten our signatures tattooed underneath." So interesting story. But this week, I think she was a nurse. I think she's actually one of our first responders. But there I am on the side of her leg, laughing away. Yeah, for eternity. For eternity.
Betsy, I'd like to ask you a question, if you don't mind. Remember, there was a small little movie you did a favor for. It's called Lake Erie. Can you share your experiences about Lake Erie?
Well, what experiences is that they had put out a resubmission after an actress could not get, and I submitted, and the producer and the director made me go through a number of steps to prove that it was me. I said, no, it's really me. It's me. I actually didn't experience it myself, but enough in our cast and crew did. And once I heard that, I asked to never be alone in a room. So a lot of times in this, they'd have the cast and the crew maybe often, or I'd be working on my lines. And I just asked that I never be left alone in a room, especially when we were doing night shoots, because there were other members of the cast and the crew that definitely experienced something interesting. And it was with Lance Henriksen, and we never met. We never worked together. We never met. I was with Marilyn, and we only met one day. Her last day of shooting was my first day. So, I think it's a very clever concept. It's an amazing story about a young woman who is recently deceased and moves into her late husband's home on her own and discovers all these strange and unusual things. So, but I didn't have really weird experiences, Jeff. I made sure that I kept myself protected from having weird experiences. But I know others did. You?
I tell you what, that house is haunted. That's all I got to tell you. And I dare you to spend one night by yourself.
Now, can you speak of? Yeah. I was looking at your IMDb page, and you have one that's in pre-production. Jeff, did you want to ask her about the one that's in pre-production?
Well, Betsy, what are your thoughts of being part of Harvest Moon?
In our early discussions, I was excited about it. I don't know what the status is right now. A lot of productions, a lot of people think that production's movie right now, but a lot of times it takes a lot of pre-production. I don't know what I haven't heard lately, Jeff, what's going to happen. Have you?
Well, they're supposed to be filming next year because of the pandemic. They got a little backtracked, but I was more talking about the cast. You have a new member, Mr. Robert England, coming aboard. I figured we got the iconic Betsy Baker, we got Lance, and we got Robert. That makes for a killer flick in my eyes.
Yeah, I hope. Fingers crossed.
It will happen. Promise.
So, what else do you have? What else do you have coming up on your docket as far as projects that you can talk about?
Actually, recurring on the Honors, which is the old Roseanne show, and it has evolved in really funny. Actually, my first airing is tonight, November 25, and then I'm on 2 times in December. And it's an episode of a new show that's coming out in the winter, I think, an Ed Helms show, Rutherford Falls, and it's a comedy dramedy, comma. It's a comma. It's a crama or a drama, comedy dramedy, and then a project that we hope to be able to announce in the next few days. So keep on later so that we can. Our Facebook page, LayofEvilDead.com, will make that announcement. So that should be coming soon.
Okay. Well, we look forward to that. Well, thank you, Betsy. We really appreciate your time. We will look forward to your coming announcements and the features that you're in, and take a look at the Connors next time it's on ABC. And then later on in December. Thank you very much, Betsy. Have a great Thanksgiving. We really appreciate your time. All right, Jeff, that'll bring us to another close of the Geek and I podcast. Anything you want to get going for the Collector Zone? You want to get rid of that towel? You want to sell that towel on the Collector Zone for maybe somebody to clean their car off with?
This is a 75th anniversary towel. No. But the Collector Zone still has some cool stuff being shown on the channel. We still got Kicking It with Killer Flick. We'll be doing some more cool unboxings. I just recently did a really cool unboxing. Go check it out. But I want to tell everybody, tomorrow's Thanksgiving. You're watching a pre-recorded show, and I'm very thankful for everybody being a part of not only the Collector Zone, but the Geek and I family, for showing some love, hitting that iconic bell so that way you're in the know for the next video, but most importantly for subscribing, showing that special love that we appreciate the most. Thank you so kindly.
Yes, thank you everybody for tuning into this episode of the Geek and I podcast. We are part of the Geek News Now podcast network. Visit them online at geeknewsnow.net. And we are sponsored by Sumner Twins. Talent for all your gaming needs. You can head on over to Metallic Dice Games. Everything you need there for your gaming experience. Use code GNN at checkout and save 10%. Thank you, Jeff. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving in the past, because this episode will air in the future. And we will see you next time.
On the next one. Layers.